Check our distance. Let's give Teresa a hand. Everyone check your hair. Okay, that's it. Teresa, we are talking about everyman and the drama of medievalism, this medieval Europe. But I think every one of the cultures, society, Japan had a definite medieval period from the War of the Three Kingdoms to the Meiji Restoration, right? Did you study that? The Meiji Restoration? Good. Korea. Korea had 500 years of peace under the protection of China. That went from when to when? Ji Hung. And I think a society that does not teach its young history is necessarily medieval. That if you do not know your history, your society is attempting to keep you medieval peasants. That's my contention. So study your history. In Korea, I don't know when it was, and then we had that unfortunate incident in 1905, the secret pact between America and Japan, where America got the Philippines and Japan got Korea. Those troubles are well over, right? Yes. No, they aren't, because the country's still divided between North and South Korea. China, the biggest capitalist country on earth, is also the biggest communist country on earth. How does that happen? This is a pretty interesting world. Teresa, where do you see kind of neo-medievalism in the world existence, your life?
I have no idea.
Let's pick, anyone help me on school. How's that? And weave in the Hunger Games too, gang. And then we're going to see this film, the Satyricon, just before the medievalism. How is the Hunger Games medieval, or a portrait of a medieval existence? Come on, Harvard. Liz.
Everyone, they just live to survive. They're not living for meaning. Well, the ones that were living
in the games.
Yeah, like in the level that she lived in, like before
12.
Started. Yeah, in 12, like they just lived to
They're coal miners, right?
Yes.
But they live to provide the rich folks in the city with coal, right?
Yeah.
That's medieval.
Right. So
How many want to freelance once you get out of here? Freelance. You don't even know what that is anymore. If I would have said this 20 years ago, what is it, Alex? To freelance.
Basically, put yourself out there with regards to obtaining money.
No, that's not quite right.
Isn't it?
It is a constant hunting for money, but you are your own agent. You move from job to job. You get these jobs online. You're an actor. You want to act. You're a freelancer, right? So you have an agent. You have your own website. You have your own things. You move to the juicy jobs. What happens when you have too few jobs? Don't focus on the negative. You're looking for more jobs, right? Monet, what happens when you have too many jobs? You're overwhelmed and you do them all. Why, Christopher? How many of your parents freelance? Holy smokes. This is corporativism, which I contend is medievalism. How is that, Teresa?
I feel like people are afraid of that now.
My dad freelanced. He was an architect, urban planner, landscape architect. He taught in a university.
But does he have his own
Most of
company?
my life, he had too many jobs. He designed college campuses. Once he got done with the job, 3 or 4 or 5 other people said, we want you. Based on your portfolio, we want you.
Like my friend's dad was a freelance architect, but he can't find any jobs anymore after the economic.
What happened? After what economic collapse? I contend this started in the 50s. What do I mean by that? And how is corporatism similar to medievalism? Why are you all trained to be freelancers? Name. Sunil. Louder. That's why one of Monet.
Negative stigma.
Negative what?
Like a negative social stigma, like you get sent to
To be freelancer?
Well, not like I don't think that, but I think that parents want you to like go to universities and be a professional. They don't want
But before the 70s, 80s, before Reaganism, to be a professional was exactly equal to being a freelancer. It really is. How many parents are doctors? No one? How many are lawyers? No one? Those are freelancers. Really. And so I'm really amazed that this group of young people don't even know what freelancing is, which means you're not acquainted with professionalism.
Isn't
Teresa.
when you work in a law firm, isn't it a corporation technically?
Yeah, you could work for a law firm, but back before the 80s, your dream was not, what was it? Not to work in a law firm, it was to have your own firm. That's freelance. How many have a parent who's their own boss? Cool. What do they do? What's your?
Oh, my dad's an engineer, but he
That's
also
freelancing.
works for a company.
And he also, see, like, that's what happened to my dad. He was a university professor, had his own studio. He had like 3 or 4 draftsmen, blah, blah, blah. But he never punched a clock. He was always working. But what's your dad do? Or mom? I'm not being sexist.
My dad has like a shipping company.
Far out, man. He's a freelancer.
He owns it with like his uncle though, so it's like a partnership.
He doesn't punch a clock with your uncle, does he? But he's working all the time.
Yeah.
Yours? Mom or dad?
They own like 2 businesses.
Far out. Entrepreneurs. Have you ever gotten here at Stony Brook, you should be an entrepreneur? The romance, the glamour, have you gotten that? Through the business school? Well, you should, because only like 40 to 60% of the jobs you're studying for demand that you be entrepreneurs. Those from Korea and Japan, your parents work for someone? You don't know how you were fed when you were young? Si Jung. Name. Chihong. Parent. Work for Hyundai? Samsung? Professor. Like me. Well, what field?
Science, chemistry.
Did he or she, I'm not being sexist, mom or dad?
Dad.
Did he have a sideline, research, things like that? What university?
Fuyong University.
Which one?
Fuyong.
Puyang. That's in Busan, right? Okay, everyone know what I'm talking about? Parents, boss. This, I'm being provocative here, gang. This is neo-medievalism. This is not good. Why would I say that? Miyang. Minhee. Kwanju, what do your parents do in Kwanju? Professor also. There we go. That's medievalism. You know what percentage of professors are really adjunct and untenured here? Alex, I'll contend. This is a neo-medievalist institution. How and why? Oh, your parents are professors.
Both my parents were teachers for a long time, and now it's. In a way, my dad is a freelance professor because at any point he could just go, I don't want to do this anymore since he's retired,
He could have done that?
and still could. I'm sure if he wanted to, he could literally just walk away from it and just stop teaching.
But then your family wouldn't eat or be able to pay your mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay, Harvard, spark up here, man. I'm saying something very controversial. I'm saying your society, we all have been living in a neo-medievalist, feudal, corporativist existence. The movie, I didn't like it that much, but the movie Hunger Games showed the extreme example of that. What? The book was better.
It's based off the chapter.
Where are we going, and how do we view plays that exhibit this idea of neo-medievalism? Do you feel secure in this, Christopher?
I'd rather have a secure job than have at any moment not be hungry.
How many of you would like to have a secure job at the end of Stony Brook, or launching in from Stony Brook right into a secure job? How many? Raise your hand.
I get how being controlled is a bad thing, but also I kind of like the stability of having a company.
40 years ago, and they weren't slackers, but 40 years ago, the dominant college student opinion of this was like, no way. I want to march around jobs as much as I can. I want to dip in and out of jobs, go live in Mexico for 2 or 3 months, come out again. How many had parents like that? Neo-hippie parents. No one? They got right to work, got to breeding, got to into corporate jobs. How many are worried that there are jobs out there for you?
There aren't or there are?
That there will be. How many are worried? Look at me. How many are worried that there will be jobs out there? I am for you. Raise your hands. You're not worried? Jihan. Che? Jay. Are you worried you'll have a job that you like? You're not worried right now, or you're not having a job right now?
I'm not worried about
Why is that? Who mentioned this? Christopher, you mentioned the crash in 2008. What did that do to reshape even global society?
That kind of put things into perspective that maybe we're not as like what we send out to people, like our wealth, our place in the world. Maybe we're not as high money as we see.
When the bubble crashes in China, what will happen?
It'll affect everybody.
In the world. In the world.
'Cause they're-
Is it crashing now?
No.
It was 12% growth for the past 15 years. It was down to 8.
They still have debt from America to cover.
And America has debt, is indebted to them. We are interlinked in a medieval type corporativist world. If that doesn't make people go like, wow, I got to look at this through those glasses for a while. This professor ain't so crazy. Let me take a look at that. Just the idea that college students 40 years ago wanted to shape their lives, not get plugged right away into jobs. And if you aren't worried the promise of jobs will be out there, better start having insomnia tonight. Because this is another way of looking, especially in Asia where the economy has been heated up, and now it's kind of sputtering down because a lot of people went to college, and in Korea, you're supposed to go to college, right? Are there the jobs in Korea once they get out? I lived in Singapore. Engineers, lawyers, and doctors were driving cabs at 60 because they're forced out of their work. Monet, is that a medieval world? Your dad, your mom studies engineering or being a lawyer or a doctor, or not just an undergrad but a professional degree, and is forced to be a cabbie at 60. Mandatory retirement at the end of the 50s or 60s. Singapore, the country on which modern China wanted to design itself after. I've lived there. There's a lot right with that country. There's a lot wrong.
It's pretty.
It's pretty. You've been there.
I've looked into going there.
Okay. Come on, Harvard. Hit me up. Hit me up. Look up here. What? Talk to me. Eric, take grade. Who answers or not. That's medievalist. But Professor, you're acting like a feudal lord. Okay, you noticed. Give me some answers. Give me some questions. Who's worried? How does this affect our looking at drama? Here's the picture. Here's the Roman world. We'll see this. There's slaves. There's tenants. There's Roman citizens. Only an echelon of people could become citizens. The Byzantines were over in the east. They're priests. There's the army. There's administrators. There's the artisans. Allie, what do you feel about those guys? Priests. Your parents belong to the priestly class, as do mine. Whose family is in the army here? No one? That the war economy is part of this neo-medievalism, especially in our American society. We used to have to fight economically a war every 12 years. Now what is that, Liz?
We've been in a war with everyone.
Because our economy demands it. It's the industrial military complex. Sorry to give you this like cliche lefty line on reality. What? 1984. Find an enemy? Who said that, Bella? You want a utopia, find an enemy. Plato, The Republic. Most of you had to read that book. This is the structure. Then we had the emperor up here. In the Hunger Games, it was kind of reflected this. So what, can anyone help me? What did spectacle in this Roman society and this movie, The Hunger Games, borrowed from that? What does spectacle have to do with cleansing this whole system to not make you feel like you're defeated? Teresa,
My spectacle.
did you see The Hunger Games?
Yeah.
That was all about spectacle. What did the boys and girls have to do? Represent. Be.
They were like the people, and then they had the ruling class had to keep them down, so they always had the games to have them kill each other.
They sacrificed the Cretan society did this with ancient Greece. Most Chinese society did this with Korea and Japan way back when. The Romans did this with the Germans. You send the best, the brightest, the most beautiful German tribe, young people into Rome. The Romans treated them like their own children, but at any moment they could slit their throats. Why was that, Alex? You're German. Why did those evil Romans do this? Was it very smart?
Yes.
The Turks did it with the Greeks. They were called janissaries. Sometimes they castrated them, sometimes they didn't. But they took the best and the brightest of the Greeks when the Turks took over in Eastern Mediterranean. They treated them like kings. Some of the best writers, architects were actually janissary Greeks in Turkish society. What's the logic behind that, and how is that reflected in the Hunger Games?
You're basically stealing the brightest minds of other groups and getting their views.
You show them you could give them power. Take it away.
Aspects of religion, architecture, things that the Romans didn't
But they
have.
took these kids of German chieftains north of the Danube. The Romans cut it at the Danube and said, "Oh God, these people live in huts anyway. We don't want to conquer them, but we don't want them making these raids on our property. Let's go in and say, would you trade your son to a Roman emperor?"
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So the Germans reluctantly said, "Okay, you won't chase us further north of the Danube. Here's my son. Be nice to him." And they were nice to him, just like in the Hunger Games. They royal, got best educated. At any moment, they could slit their throats. In the Three Kingdoms of Japan, same thing. They took the children of their opposing lords. Let's give Teresa a hand here for a moment. And let's finish